so this is case study 3. Try and go over these a little quicker. Number 1 says, how do tumors, lymph nodes, and cysts tend to feel? So, if you read, you should have seen that malignant tumor would feel rock hard, and an enlarged lymph node would be kind of firm but not hard, and a cyst would be soft and a little bit squishy. Number 2, what did they do in this case to rule out a tumor? They performed an ultrasound because an enlarged lymph node has a distinctive appearance, so they were checking to see whether or not it might be an enlarged lymph node. Number 3, what are the lymph vessels? So lymph vessels are a system of channels that carry excess intercellular fluid. So that's fluid that's between the cells. So you might call it intercellular because it's between cells, or extracellular because it's outside of each cell. Within that fluid, you might find things like pathogens and debris and wastes from the tissues. Okay, basically 90% of tissue fluid returns to the circulatory system as plasma, while the other 10% remains as lymph. So if you think of what was forced out of your capillaries at the arterial end, so water with oxygen and nutrients and things like that, the goodies would be used by your cells, and your cells will give off some waste. There'll be some pathogens like bacteria or viruses kind of floating around sometimes, but wastes and other things that aren't picked up at the venule end, we need to get rid of them somehow, otherwise they build up. So, you should have an idea of the functions of the lymphatic vessels and the lymphatic system, and that's covered in the video lesson, so please make sure that you watch it. Number 4, name some of the materials which are found in lymph. So again, we just mentioned some. Water, proteins, pathogens, wastes, debris, fatty acids, and glycerol, because part of their role is to carry the products from the breakdown of fat in your digestive tract. So they're too big to go in through your blood vessels. So your lymphatic vessels will pick up the fatty acids and glycerol, which we get from breaking down fat stuff in our intestines. Number 5, how does lymph move along the lymph vessels? So your lymph vessels are kind of like your veins in that they don't have the action of the heart pumping the material through them. So they work a lot like your veins do. They have valves and depend on movement of your muscles. So when your muscles... Daddy. You were teasing Daddy, Rhea. Sorry.
What did you do?
Sorry. Okay. So basically, when your muscles contract, it causes the lymph fluid to be forced up through the valves. It forces the valves open, and it forces the lymph up closer to the heart. And then when your muscles relax, then the valves close, and the fluid is trapped closer to the heart. So it depends on your movement. So if you're not moving enough, then not only might your blood not be recirculating back to your heart, but the fluid that is normally picked up by your lymphatic vessels wouldn't be cycled back into your circulatory system. So you could end up with, like, if you're sitting for a long time and you haven't been moving, then that's when your feet might swell, or your hands might go puffy, and things like that. Number 6, what are lymph nodes and what do they do? So I can show you on here, and this again, if you take a look on the class website, there is a video lesson linked there that describes all of this. Okay, it's talking about what do you find in lymph, what are the lymph vessels, so they're shown in green here, and I explain it in even more detail there. These are the functions of the lymphatic system. Okay, so basically they're really important in fluid balance, and they help to carry stuff from the breakdown of fatty foods into your body so that your cells can make use of them. Okay, this is just showing a picture. The lymphatic vessel, similar to a vein, has the valves in them to make them be able to pump lymph, not really pump lymph, but force lymph back up towards the heart. What are lymph nodes? They are enlargements along lymph vessels, so you can see them here. They house phagocytotic white blood cells, so they house macrophages that help to capture bacteria and other pathogens, and they help to filter the lymph. They also store lymphocytes that produce antibodies, so they're really important for the immune system. And when you get sick, oftentimes the doctor will be checking to see if your lymph nodes are swollen. So if you have swelling, you can see where they're concentrated. They're concentrated in your groin area, under your armpits, but right under your, a lot of times they'll check under your neck and behind your ears for swelling of lymph nodes. And number 7, why do lymph nodes swell when you have an infection? Well, we just kind of mentioned that. Basically, bacteria and debris collect inside as the macrophages trap and destroy them. So, because all of those are collecting inside them, then they tend to get bigger. Number 8. Okay, sorry. The last question, again, describe how lymph may re-enter the bloodstream. So this next slide shows it, and it's described on the video lesson. Basically, it's a little different on the right side than on the left side and your lower body, so that's why I was getting you to kind of look into that. The idea is your lymph travels in lymphatic vessels, which eventually will meet up with blood vessels. So the lymph is filtered along the lymphatic vessels and the lymph nodes, and then by the time it reaches your blood vessels, then it's clean and can be recirculated. So your upper right side, this picture is really good to kind of show what happens, but your upper right area is drained, eventually drains into the right lymphatic duct, which meets up with the right subclavian vein. Why is it called subclavian? So you know where your collarbone is? Your collarbone is, the proper biological term for it is the clavicle. So when they say subclavian, it means it runs underneath your clavicle or underneath your collarbone. So the right subclavian vein is over here. Okay, so the right lymphatic duct is going to drain into the right subclavian vein. Okay, the lower part of your body and your abdominal region, as well as your upper left side, all drain into the thoracic duct. Okay, so the thoracic duct is a really big duct that you may have seen if you watched the video. Let's see. In this diagram, here's the thoracic duct. Okay, so the lower regions are drained into the thoracic duct and then into the left lymphatic duct, so everything drains into the left lymphatic duct on the left side and the lower right side, and it will re-enter through the left subclavian vein. So it re-enters the bloodstream through subclavian veins, but the upper right side goes in through the right lymphatic duct, right subclavian vein. The lower body and the upper left side is drained by the thoracic duct, left lymphatic duct, and left subclavian vein. I think I've said it enough times now. Okay, so that is it for the case